So we've almost got this frame done. I do need to add the steering neck. So I turned off a lot of those planes, and I went ahead and saved. This is a good time to save. Make sure you save it as a new name. Do a save as. So this time I called it 1002A instead of 1001A. So that'll mean I'll still have that subassembly of the backbone, and now I'll have a new subassembly of the rest of the frame. So for the steering neck, I opened that up, and then I just came in and turned on all these planes here because I'm going to need them as to help me mate it to the frame. Go back to my assembly. Let's go ahead and insert that and orient it a little better. That looks more, that's closer to where it's going to end up being. Now remember that plane I used when I cut out those notches of that tubes? I even labeled it. That's going to be the plane that you're going to use to constrain this to get that same angle. So just click on those two planes. That's good. Let's see, we'll use that one and the mid plane. Again, remember that mid plane I created between those two backbone frames. Constrain that together, and I do need to constrain it so it's not moving forwards and backwards. And SolidWorks lets me do this concentric. Click on the outside of the tube, and then click on that surface. Make sure you get the surface, not just the edge, the surface of that notch, and it'll constrain it to that. Now if it turns out that I don't like that angle, all I have to do is go in to where I had that angle on that tube. So if I were to open up that, let's see, what is that tube right there? Oh, let's see, got all this stuff open. There we go. I can edit that. I could change that angle, and when I change the angle, that the neck that I constrained there would change with the angle because it's constrained to that angle. Right, so that's an easy change as you're designing stuff. Let's see, let's see, I'm in the middle of this. Okay, so let's constraint. Let's go ahead and put that back. I somehow undid my constraint there. So that surface there, that surface there is good. To there is good. And we're all set. Turn off all those planes. And what do we have left? Guess I didn't really need that axis. And there's my frame subassembly. Now I still have parts to add. Obviously I've got a motor mount, foot pegs, some sort of seat mount, gas tank mount, whatever I have here for rear axle or suspension mount, shock mounts, those kinds of things. But as far as tubing goes, there's my subassembly for the tubing. Let me save that again. That'll go back and save all the pieces. I want to put that on a drawing sheet. Try to use a B size whenever possible. Please do not use D size or anything bigger than that. It's too hard to read everything. Doesn't make any sense for the parts. We can always change the scale. If you want to create orthographics or an ISO, it's a little tight on this sheet right now, but for what we're doing, now remember my original, no cooperation there. Remember my original sketch that I had for the frame? You can kind of go back and look at that and see it has evolved quite a bit, but turned into a pretty nice looking frame. Now what's going to happen here for an assembly, typically what you're going to want to do is just use an isometric. Don't need to show center lines or dimensions typically. Let's bump this scale up a little bit. You just want to add balloons and parts list to this so you can see all the pieces. So what you do is come up here to table and click on bill of material. Just click in this box and green check mark. Table goes right here. So that when I saved those, I didn't put names on them, but that's something you need to go in and fill out. So you just, if you click in there, you can type in the name, oops, caps on, etc. So you can handle that part. Let's add balloons. So if you go auto balloon, click in the box and just green check mark, it'll go ahead and put the balloon. Now it's kind of a train wreck the way it puts the balloons on there. So you're going to want to come in here, clean these up so it's readable. Like this, you can't tell what this is pointing at because it's pointing at that connection. In fact, that's not even, obviously it's a problem because it's not even, it's supposed to be pointing at this. This one is the neck. So you can move these on here and arrange them so they're not just so helter-skelter. All over the drawing sheet. And if you look in here, it'll tell you the quantity of each. Remember, there's 2 of these, a left and a right, 2 of those. Those are 2 different. There's 2 of those. But that's basics for the start of your subassembly of the frame. So again, I would come in here, fill all these out for the parts. Now your names and numbers are going to be different, obviously. Etc. The drawing number is there. That's how you saved it. You're going to fill out the title block with the name of it. In this case, it's going to be and I'm calling it a subassembly because it doesn't have all of the parts on it yet. Once you have all the parts on it, it'll be more of a full assembly. And put your name on there. Oops. And don't forget to save it as a PDF when you save it. Now when you save it, it's going to use that number right there as a drawing number. But it's going to save it as a DRW file. And then we're going to save it as a PDF, but you're going to put your name on it. Don't forget your name. Yeah, just do all caps, that's fine. Your name with the drawing number. And you'll send me the PDFs. Alright, now this is my design. I expect to see a different design. Do not copy this design. The dimensions are not correct. As I said, this is a little bit complicated the way I did it, but you can find a way that works for you. Look, again, do some research, find something to kind of build your design off of. You're not going to find something that's exactly the right fit for the motor, for the size tires, for the specifications I've given you for the overall length. So pay attention to those. And if you have to change things, hopefully you don't have to change anything major. Like if I wanted to change the length of those tubes, I could just go in, edit the length of the tubes, the drawings will update. Now when you start changing the bends and things, it can get crazy on you. So don't try to change the bends, change the straight dimensions, and it shouldn't be too difficult to do. So be kind of careful about that. So that's how to create a subassembly and how to assemble tubes. It just takes a little bit of time, takes some practice. Just got to get busy and start practicing.